like, I don't know if you listen to like the radio or what's popular on like streaming services, but you know, record players definitely do carry a different atmosphere to them, so I can understand wanting to branch out. Right, well, you know, we have big variety here, you know, we really pride ourselves on that, you know, we have everything from, you know, your essential rock to your more obscure metal. We even have some instrumentals over there. We got reggae in the corner. We have like classic jazz. Any of those sound good? I don't really know what you listen to, or you know what you want to listen to, I guess. Yeah, well, actually, I was sorting some records here. If you know, maybe we can start with those, and then you can get like an idea of what you want. And I promise there will be some you probably recognize, so I'm not throwing you too deep into the water too fast. Would that be good, you know? We talk about it here. I mean, you know, it's out of season, shop's pretty empty, and I mean, it gets pretty boring, so I would love to talk to someone, let alone music-wise, but yeah, that sounds good, and then from there you can branch out. Perfect, alright, well, let's see here. Yeah, we just got new shipments, so here, I'll start with probably the most recognizable band. I think everyone knows the Killers. You know, the classic Mr. Brightside. If you don't recognize the name The Killers, you recognize the name Mr. Brightside. Absolute classic song. However, it is not on this album. This album, I think, is much superior. This is called Sam's Town, and I think this is one of the few 10 out of 10 albums out there. This is a personal favorite of mine. I'll be honest, this latest shipment we got may or may not have been influenced by me, but hey, that's what happens when they give me most of the hours, so. But yeah, this was their sophomore album. It's very, you know, Americana in looks and feel. However, they don't stray from what kind of music they make. If anything, they actually leaned harder into rock. There's, you know, obviously, Brendan Flowers' synthesizer is still present. However, I would say less so than in Hot Fuss, which Hot Fuss is also down here if you want to look at that after. Right. But yeah, this one is phenomenal. I'd say probably the most recognizable song on this album is When You Were Young. That was kind of the radio hit when it first came out. And gosh, what year did it come out? Early 2000s, I know, but I don't know the specifics. Let's see. It is not a double album, but it is a double sleeve. It's a book. Yeah, I can't find the year, but my mind wants to say 2004, but I think that might be too early. Yeah, I don't think that's right, but you know, the years don't really matter when it comes to music, because good music can be listened to whenever. So the track list for this is Sam's Town, you know, titular song, and might I say one of the greatest songs ever written. I would recommend listening to that even on your phone if you don't end up getting this. And then a little short minute-long piano piece called Interlude, not with an I-N-D, but with enter, the word E-N-D, E-R, lude, all one word. Then it transitions to When You Were Young. Bling, Confession of a King, that one's great. For Reasons Unknown, Read My Mind, that is a very gorgeous song. I think that is a song that Brendan was like, I think this is one of the greatest songs I've ever written. I'm so proud of myself. Uncle Johnny, this is now side B. Uncle Johnny, which is great. It's kind of like the really heavy version of Andy Your Star, which is on the first one, where it's just kind of like one repetitive riff, but it works so well. Bones, which features some very nice trumpets. My List, This River is Wild, Why Do I Keep Counting, and then Exitlude to match Interlude. So here are the boys on the back, you know, hanging out in Sam's Town. And then recognizable album. If not their most recognizable album. You probably recognize this photo from, maybe seeing Mr. Brightside recommended to you in a playlist or something. Or on the radio, or the hell of friends. So, of course, like I said, Mr. Brightside, but before that, it starts with Jenny Was a Friend of Mine, which is a phenomenal song. They have a lot of songs that sound like it, but I just personally think they don't have another song quite like it in their repertoire. Then Mr. Brightside, Smile Like You Mean It, Somebody Told Me, another very recognizable one by them. All These Things That I've Done, which is a pretty fun one. Side B is Andy You're a Star, which I mentioned. On Top, Change Your Mind, Believe Me Natalie, a personal favorite of mine. Midnight Show, and it ends with Everything Will Be Alright, which I believe was actually recorded in one of their apartments, not in a studio. But this one is much plainer. You have the front and you have the back. And I mean, you almost can't read everything on the back because it's such a light blue and the text is white. And then this one is just, single sleeve. But yeah, that's the killers that we got in. So, what are you thinking? More mainstream, less mainstream, more rock, less rock? What are you gauging here? Less rock, mellow it out, okay. Yeah. Now, this band, for being, pretty popular and doing some bigger shows, not a lot of people have heard of them, but they're not very underground or hidden. It's the Decemberists. This is their debut album called Castaways and Cutouts. And what's great about the Decemberists is that the singer Colin Malloy's wife actually illustrates all their album covers. So this is drawn by Carson Ellis. Now this is a very, very good debut album and a very good band. They have a sound that is quite unlike any others because it's rock. It has the formula, you have your verse into your chorus and then maybe a bridge. However, it's a lot of accordions and acoustic guitar and a lot of historical lyricism and just a vocabulary like any others. It's a very unique listening experience. But that's not to say it's going to sound, too old or folky. Like I said, it's rock in its essence. There's still electric, there's still, some pounding drums. There's still some very cool bass lines. So you're not sacrificing normalcy, so to speak. With the Decemberist, you're just adding a flavor that's kind of lost nowadays, and that's what I love about them. It's organic instrumentalism, it's organic instruments, it's an organic sound, but with a, planned out formula of writing. So, I don't think, you can recognize any of these songs, but regardless, we start with Leslie Ann Levine, Here I Dreamt I Was an Architect, which is one of their bigger ones. July, July, a cautionary song, Odalisque, Cocoon, and then side B has Grace Cathedral Hill, which is quite beautiful, The Legionnaire's Lament, Clementine, and then a little double to end it off, California One and Youth and Beauty Brigade. So yeah, a very gorgeous album. I would recommend this band highly. Actually, we have them under rock because we don't really know where else to put them, but we have more of their albums over. If, after this little talk, you want to check them out a little more. Because like I said, they are technically mainstream, so maybe there's a chance you will recognize some of their songs. They just came out with an album about a year ago now, I believe, and their song Burial Ground really made its rounds. So, but we have that album as well. It's called As It Ever Was, So It Shall Be Again. Long name, I know. But, yeah, I'd recommend the Decemberists. Alright. Put that away for now. Alright. What tickles your fancy now? You still want advice? Okay. Yeah. Okay. How about this then? This is another very mainstream one, but has a lot of indie rep. And we have actually not their best selling, but probably their most popular. This is Death Cab for Cutie's Transatlanticism. Now, this album was a major breakthrough for the band. This was, I believe, you can play these songs with chords, something about airplanes. And then I believe it was, we have the facts from voting, yes, I believe this was their 4th album. And when I tell you that, I don't want to speak too poorly because I do like some of their early works, but when I tell you that the songwriting, the production value, the, idea of creating an album itself, this came out of nowhere for the band. It was praised by the Rolling Stones as, I think, like, top 50 albums in, like, the decade, or some crazy title like that when it came out. And for a fantastic reason. Now, I will admit, the first time I listened to this, I didn't get it. It didn't click with me. Second time I listened to it, I understood completely. I can't stop listening to it now. This album is an experience. When I say that, I mean it full-heartedly. This is a double LP, which means that there are 2 discs in here. Oh my gosh, I don't know any other word except experience. Now, what's great about this is there is no track list on the back, just a long thread that comes from the Transatlanticism grow. But the inside doesn't have it either. It's a very simplistic design. But I think I could do it off the top of my head. So, most of these songs actually follow into one another, which adds to the whole album being like an experience. So it starts off with the new year, and it just cuts open with this like droning sound, which I'll get to later, and explodes into the song. It's a very catchy song, and then there's like a little as it ends, and it just immediately goes into the next one, which tones it down, but a beautiful hook. And then that droning continues, and it goes into the next song, which is, the second one's called Lightness, third one's called Title and Registration, which they still do at concerts to this day, I believe. And yeah, it's a perfect opening trilogy, all on side A. Side B, you have Expo 86, which is another really good one. And then you have Sound of Settling, which is very fun. It has clapping in it, which I always really appreciate when songs have clapping in it. And then Tiny Vessels, which is, oh my gosh, I don't know how you write a song like that. And if you listen to it, you'll know what I mean when it gets to the point. It's so dramatic, it's so heavy, it's so gorgeous. And then, starting on side C, you get Transatlanticism. Just the most out of the blue work for such a little indie band. Coming in at around, I believe, 8 minutes, it perfectly captures the sound of longing and desire and loneliness and passion. And yeah, I would say main emphasis on longing. And then it just perfectly transitions into a one little piano piece called Passenger Seat. And then finally, the final side, side D, you get, it kind of kicks it up a little again. It gets a little fun going with Death of an Interior Decorator. And then it goes back into the heavy emotional stuff with We Look Like Giants, which is another one. I can't believe there's a human out there that can write a song like that. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not a ballad, but it's just so, again, listen to it. And then the final song, how do you close an album like this? You close it with a lack of color. Just, you would think there is no perfect ending, but somehow that is it. It's not too sad, but there's just that hint of something there that you're like, this is it. It's the end, and I have to live with that. And it's kind of sad, honestly, because you get so wrapped up in the world of Transatlanticism, and then you know you're at the end, and it sounds just like the end of a thing you don't want to end. And then at the very end, there's a certain droning noise that is present at the beginning. That's right. This album technically just carries on. Again, it just starts again. Now, sadly, I have tried to do that on streaming services. It doesn't. There is a little tiny pause, so you will get a moment of silence, but obviously, in physical form, it doesn't matter because you can't try that, so it's the thought that counts, and the thought comes across. So yeah, 11 out of 10 album. I think if I were to strongly urge you to get any album, it would be this one. But I think we have more copies over in the back. This is one that needs stock. So I know I just talked your ear off about that one. But I'll segue into something not completely polar opposite, but in a way it is. I actually take it back. This is probably going to be the most mainstream recognizable one. It's Blondie. Everyone loves Blondie. Parallel Lines. It's a great album. This has, so many recognizable songs. Even for the layman who might, only listen to the radio and never once listen to a band on their own accord. Again, another breakthrough. I'm really noticing about it that I like breakthrough albums. It's something I realized the other day. But yeah, this one has Hanging on the Telephone, which, to more serious fans is, a really good song. One Way or Another, which the entire world knows. Picture This, another one to fans, big one. A Fade Away and Radiate. I'm not, too fond of that song, but the Oh Pretty Baby is a great one. I know, but I don't know. To be honest, I skip that song when I'm listening to it on like a phone or something. I'm not a huge fan. 11:59 though, starting on side 2. Gorgeous song that is honestly in contender for my favorite one on the album. Will Anything Happen's a fun one. Sunday Girl, again, to the better fans. A big one. Heart of Glass, again, one that everyone knows. I'm Gonna Love You Too, and then Ants Would Just Go Away, so it's a very upbeat album. Classic rock, It's Blondie. Everyone knows Blondie. Arguably their biggest album. If, I know you said you want to try new stuff, but if you want to play it safe, I think people will still give you credit. Because, like I said, everyone loves Blondie. I think every generation does. Their music's just straight up good. The only problem is they're kind of hard to order. I want to stock this place more, but it's harder to find their more not obscure, but the albums that aren't parallel lines. Like, I would love to get Plastic Letters in the shop. I think people would eat that up. Or Eat to the Beat, funny enough. Have you heard Dreaming by them? Great one, inspired by ABBA. Yeah. So, where do you think we stand now? Do you want to, do you want me to talk your ear off more? Or do you feel free to go look out? I get it, yeah, not everyone is as into music as, people like me, but, yeah, more. Okay, here. I'll 180 then. Only two big music nerds. Will this be, like, the biggest album ever? But to, people who aren't into music, they've probably never heard of this album. So, depending on where you stand, that is going to matter a lot. Let's see where I put it. Here it is. This is, of course, the classic. The mainstream of the underground, so to speak. In the Aeroplane Over the Sea. Never heard of it. Okay. That's a big test. If you call yourself like a music person. Because every single music person is like, oh, I listen to Neutral Milk Hotel, my music taste is so obscure. If someone says that to you, just know that they are getting into music. Don't fall for it. But this one, another experience, another 10 out of 10. One of two albums released by the band. Technically, they have other releases, but they're not fully fledged albums. But yeah, this one's great. This was made from actually a stamp where the woman did not have a drum for a head, and the little boy was not swimming in a sea of drowning other little boys. And then threw some dirt on it and took the photo. And then on the back is another very interesting photo with the Elephant 6 Recording and Company logo right there, which carries a lot of meaning for people like me. I would recommend that documentary. It's a great documentary about the Elephant 6 Recording Company. So, this one also opens up despite not being a double LP. And it does have the track list, but look at that inside. Isn't that gorgeous? Quite gorgeous. So, I'll try to do it off the top of my head, so this isn't open in front of me. So, it opens up with a little three-parter, even though it's 2 songs. So, it opens up with a song called The King of Carrot Flowers, Part 1, which is a nice little, it's not too exciting, but it's a very pretty melody. And then it transitions into the next song, which is The King of Carrot Flowers, Part 2 and 3. So Part 2 is, it's kind of like the calm before the storm, it's like, oh, this is going somewhere from that pretty little tune. And then Part 3 just erupts. That's when it's like, oh, we're having fun now, we're excited. And then after The King of Carrot Flowers saga is the titular track, and possibly one of the greatest songs ever written, In the Aeroplane Over the Sea. It is hilarious in a way. The fact that it's so simple, yet it's hailed as so beautiful. The chord progression is just G, E minor, C, D. Possibly the most plain, simple, easy chord progression ever. However, it's a great lesson that chord progressions don't make a song. It's every single component. I would say mostly the lyrics and, like, the melody. And I think the song proves it because the emotion it draws out is unparalleled for being such a simplistic song. It's his voice. is another fantastic one. Only one acoustic guitar on that one, but he plays it so fast that it's so full, you can't even tell. And that transitions into an instrumental, gorgeous song called The Fool, inspired by the first tarot card in the Major Arcana. It's heavy, and it's trumpet-filled. Oh yeah, this band has a permanent trumpet player, or, woodwind player. It's mainly a trumpet, which adds to that level of uniqueness. And then it goes into a song called Holland 1945, which is like just distorted guitar and banging drums, and it's really exciting. And then that transitions into a very slow and calm Communist Daughter. And then that's the end of side A. And then side B opens with Oh Comely, which is an 8-minute long song with only one acoustic guitar for, I would say, probably about 75% of it. And it's haunting, and it's gorgeous. And then it's Ghost, which is another, really exciting, like, full band one. And then that transitions into an untitled track, which people just kind of call it untitled, or track, I think it's 10. Yeah, track 10. And that has, like, I think a bagpipe or something similar to it. And then that transitions into the final, most emotional song, Two-Headed Boy Part 2. And that song can really get you in a headspace. It's, again, the perfect closing to the perfect album. I've noticed that the way you close an album really makes an album. It's what you leave the listeners with. It's like, you can have the entire thing be an experience, but if you don't wrap it up soundly, you lose that. It's like, oh, that was an album, rather than like, I went through something. So if you want to be in the music scene, I'd recommend picking this up. It's like a ticket to entry in a way. But just remember, that does not make your music taste obscure. It makes it look obscure. How about I show you one that I think here in America would actually be pretty obscure, and is one of my favorites. Alright. I'm actually wearing a shirt for this band right now. I don't think you'll be able to see the name over the counter, but it's a band called Beirut. Now you might be thinking, that's the capital of Lebanon. It is. It's spelled the exact same. That's actually where the name comes from. He was like, his name is Zach Condon, the guy. He's like, yeah, I named it after the city, just because I like that city. Anyway, this is his debut album called Gulag Orkestar. It's a very gorgeous album. Now, it sounds very European, and that's because Zach Condon, he loves Europe, and he loves the South Americas. It really, that's where his music comes from. He wanted it to sound not like rock. There's no guitars. The drums are all very unique. There's really no electric instruments at all. It's all trumpets and pianos and flutes and bells and, like I said, unique drum kits, bongos, ukuleles. But again, don't let that put you off, because they're gorgeous songs. He's a fantastic songwriter, and he made this when he was only 17 years old. Now, let's talk of Europe. That is where he currently is. And he does have some pretty big shows there. So I would say if we were in Europe, this might be more recognizable, but, over here across the pond, not so much. Although I wish. So, again, I track list just because you're not going to recognize anything, but I'll do it for the sake of we've been doing it. So it opens with the titular track, the Gulag Orkestar. You had a little lead to the song. A personal favorite of mine, Prenzlauer Berg. That one's very good. Brandenburg, probably one of his most popular postcards from Italy. It's a gorgeous sound. Mount Roleplay, and then in parentheses, Idle Days. And then side 2 is Rhineland, in parentheses, Heartland. Scenic World, which, if you look at his EP, Long Island, that is a much better version of Scenic World. Bratislava, which is a great instrumental. He really loves his instrumentals. It's all about the music with him, more so than the lyrics. The Bunker, The Canals of Our City, and After the Curtain. I would say, if you want to walk out with something people are like, oh, I've never heard of them before, can you tell me about them? Go with Beirut, because it's going to sound fantastic. And everyone's going to be like, wow, you got pretty cool music taste, never heard of them. Have you ever thought that's so funny? People love it when you have like an obscure music taste. It's just like, oh, you listen to, I don't know, Taylor Swift, what's wrong with you? And I'm not saying I do, but it's kind of funny being like, the more obscure, the better. It's just like, wow, you listen to a band that 4 other people in the world listen to. Congratulations, like, and trust me, I'm big into like music and whatnot, but isn't that kind of funny? Music should be enjoyed. Like, it's not a competition. That being said, pick up Beirut. I recommend it. Yeah, I think I have one final. Oh, I have 2 final bands. Do you just want to finish out this shipment I got? Alright, I'll make it quick, don't worry. I think this is a name you'll recognize. Weezer. Everyone knows Weezer. Whether you're the more casual fan or just like, yeah, they make great music, or you're in the music scenes, like, that's the Virgin band. But don't let others put you off. It's a fantastic band. If you don't want to feel bad about listening to them, you don't have to. Don't listen to other people. Everyone secretly really loves Weezer. Trust me. It's just a funny name is all. Now, of course, this is Pinkerton, which probably the most infamous and most well-loved album in their discography. Of course, when it released, bombed. Everyone hated it. And then about like 5 years later, everyone was like, oh, I get it now. And then it became like the most popular album ever. But Rivers never learned that. Rivers being the main, yeah, okay, you know. I can never know when people know or not. Yeah, this, not as many recognizable songs as on the Blue album, which I do have down here. You're familiar. Okay, I won't cover it then. But, this does have Across the Sea and The Good Life and El Scorcho, which probably the most recognizable, but my personal favorite is Falling For You, which is the penultimate track, and oh my gosh, that sound, that emotion, unbridled. Rivaled only by on Pinkerton Deluxe, the final track in the bonuses is called Tragic Girl. That one is an experience. Rivers was like, it's basically You Know You're Right by Nirvana, but for Weezer fans, and I think he was right. Are you familiar with You Know You're Right? No, I would say listen to that and look into the story behind that as well, because that's what makes half the song, but it's also just a really good song. But yeah, Tragic Girl is probably Weezer equivalent. I would also listen to that one, and there's not as much of a story, but look it up regardless. You'll Are you more into, people call this emo, it's not, but it's definitely raw. Are you into raw sounds or more, you know, cleaner sounds? Alright, yeah, well, I think we've covered a heavy dose of both, so, and besides, like I said, you are free to choose whatever you want. Anyway, I'll stop taking your time. I have one more band to cover. Sorry, you're my only entertainment today, so I'm really glad you're, listening to me ramble about all this stuff. Let's see here. This is probably one of the newest albums we have in stock. It is a band called Ghost, and their newest album, Skeletá. Now this one actually just released, let's see, April, May, June, July, yeah, about 3 months ago. Well, it's almost August, about 4 months ago, and wow, this took the world by storm. It topped the top 200, which is the first time Ghost has done that, and the first time a Swedish band has done that since the 80s with Ace of Bases, I Saw the Sign. No, that song is just called The Sign. But yeah, this is something special. It's a very gorgeous album cover, which, the lighting in the store kind of, it's strange with it because it's very metallic. It's, like I said, very gorgeous, very well made. Basically just a bunch of skeletons. And you might recognize this bag from a certain movie, a little movie called Star Wars. It is based off of Emperor Palpatine's throne. And I'll tell you what, if you buy this album, we still have a few of the Papa 5 sleeves that go on the back and sit on the chair in stock if you're thinking about it, so you get the full package. But their song that they're on tour right now, actually, since this just released recently, but the one that they're really promoting because it's one of the best on the album is Lacrima, which is it's a very 80s sound, but then it just transitions into, this band is technically metal, but they're not, a more heavy sound, but then explodes again with a very 80s like power ballad chorus. But well, really all of these are personal favorites, but it starts with Peacefield, then it goes into Lacrima, Satanized, Guiding Lights, De Profundis Borealis, Side 2, Cenotaph, Cecilia Mori, which is a hilarious song, Marks of the Evil One, Umbra, and Excelsis. I would say this album isn't as much of an experience as other Ghost albums. Let's see. Yeah, kind of like their fourth album, Prequelle, which is much more of an experience, like I said. But it's a great album nonetheless, and so is this one. This was my first album by them. But yeah, they're a fantastic band, and I would definitely recommend them. I think they're kind of another one for everyone, because it's just like they do have heavier songs, but they're not heavy on bar. So, I'm sorry, I've talked your ear off long enough. Do you think you're good to venture out into the world of music by yourself? Because that was pretty much the entire shipment, so hey, thanks for listening to me. I know technically I was the one helping you, but like I said, this is really the only stimulation I get during the day because we don't have many customers, so I'm just kind of sitting here. At least I get to choose the music that's playing. Well, not right now. The neighboring business actually complained, but later. But yeah, feel free to choose some out and then come back to me and actually, I don't know, watch. Actually, I clock out in about 5 minutes, but there will be someone here to help you. So yeah, thanks again for listening to me. If in the next, I'll stay a little longer if you need me. If in the next few minutes though, when you're choosing, you need some help, some more help, let me know. I'll be happy to help. But yeah, happy hunting. Thanks for listening.